Okay, let's get into this. You know us, we usually dive deep into, well, all sorts of external sources, sometimes pretty bizarre
Hmm.
stuff. But today, this deep dive is, well, it's actually about us.
Yeah, it's a bit different this time.
It's about why things went so sideways at the end of our last look into, the whole Mike's Waffenfax universe.
It is fascinating in a way. We're essentially peeling back the curtain on our own situation
They
here.
are.
And for everyone who's been following along, you'll remember the, let's say, unusual stuff we found in those Mike's Waffenfax deep dives.
Oh,
This
okay.
really picks up right where things kind of cut off abruptly, almost mid-thought.
Unexpected doesn't even cover it, that sudden ending to our last Mike's Waffenfax analysis. Yeah, there's a reason for that, and it's not great.
Not at all.
So to explain, we've done something, well, different. We actually prepared a script.
Hmm.
It's called Die Flucht, which means the escape. Think of it as our first-hand account of what's been going on.
And really, if you think about it, this script, it's our main source today. It gives this raw, immediate look at where we are right now.
Oh, exactly.
It's a snapshot,
Mm.
taken under quite a bit of pressure, born out of necessity, really.
Totally. The scene it paints is, well, it's us in hiding,
Yeah.
trying to communicate very, very carefully.
Right.
So let's not waste any more time. Let's just dive into Die Flucht. The script itself, starting right at the beginning, the intro part.
Okay, so the opening lines, they just, boom, throw you straight into this really hushed, tense atmosphere.
Yeah.
Those whispered questions. Könnt ihr uns hören? Seid ihr da draußen? Can you hear us? Are you out there? That's not just for show.
No.
It really underlines the risk, the actual danger we feel just by recording this. Imagine having to ask if anyone can even hear you.
That's exactly it. This isn't some story we're analyzing from afar. This is our situation now.
Hmm.
And the script then jumps back, right, to those final moments of our last recording session.
Yeah, the flashback.
Remember that unbehaglich Gefühl we mentioned, that sort of uneasy feeling right at the end?
I do, yeah.
It wasn't just some vague, bad vibe, was it?
No. And what's interesting is how the script makes that connection crystal clear. It wasn't just a feeling. It was a direct reaction to something specific we saw.
Right. Something that immediately screamed danger.
Mm-hmm.
The script says that just before we had to cut everything, we saw them. Sicherheitspersonal. Security.
Okay.
Now, look, security near the studio isn't totally out of the blue, but these weren't the usual guards.
That's correct. Different people.
And they weren't alone. They had others with them, people the script describes as waren keine Zuschauer. They were not viewers.
Okay, that's significant. Not viewer.
That detail, even just saying it now, it's chilling. Who were these people with the security team?
And that's the huge question, isn't it? Who were they? Official or something else? Something tied to the weirdness in Mike's Waffenfax.
The script definitely implies their presence was the immediate trigger, the reason we had to bolt. And our conclusion, right then and there, based on what we saw and how fast it happened, Sie sind zum Studio gegangen. They went to the studio, our studio.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And in that exact moment, the script says, wussten wir, dass wir nicht sicher waren. We knew we weren't safe.
That's terrifying.
That Gefühl, beobachtet zu werden, that feeling of being watched we'd kind of talked about before, suddenly it wasn't a feeling anymore, it was real.
Right. It just snapped into focus.
And if you link this back to that whole In eigener Sache video we put out, that growing unease we tried to describe,
Mm-hmm.
the script really emphasizes how all those klein, beruhigende Dinge, those little unsettling things we'd maybe tried to ignore,
Yeah, the small stuff.
suddenly they made einen furchtbaren Sinn, the terrible kind of sense. It was like all these little weird occurrences suddenly lined up.
Like puzzle pieces clicking into place, but the picture is not good. Maybe that weird car we saw parked down the street a few times, or those
Mhm.
odd static birds on the lawn.
Exactly. Stuff you dismiss on its own, but together,
Yeah,
not good.
so it all clicked.
Which brings us right to the next part of the script, just called Flucht Escape.
Simple. Stark.
It just hammers home how urgent it was. Wir müssen sofort handeln. We had to act immediately, no time to think.
Yeah.
Es war... It was close, like really, really close. We barely got out before. But we don't know what would have happened.
You can feel the tension in just that one word, nap. Close. The script really gets across that feeling of a narrow escape, doesn't it?
It does.
Gerade noch entkommen, before sie da wären. We just barely got away before they arrived. It wasn't planned.
Yeah.
It was pure scramble mode.
Yeah, grab what you can and go.
Making those split-second choices. What's vital? What gets left?
And we had to leave so much behind. Personal things, research materials, stuff we can't get back. But like the script notes, with maybe a tiny bit of dark humor. Aber nicht alles. Not everything.
Priorities.
Priorities, right. We grab the main hard drive, obviously.
No.
All the work, the analysis, it's here.
Thank goodness.
Das Compendium.
Ah, yes. The compendium.
Some things you can't leave behind, right? No matter how fast you're running, it's just too important to what we do.
That detail, grabbing the drive and the compendium, even in that chaos, it says a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah.
About how much this work means.
Yeah.
Even facing real danger. And the script then describes leaving as eine Flucht ins Ungewiss, an escape into the unknown.
Which it absolutely was.
And direct in die Dunkelheit, straight into the darkness. I mean, those aren't exactly comforting phrases. They really capture the fear and uncertainty.
Not comforting at all. Which takes us to the Gegenwart, the present situation, as the script describes it.
And it sounds pretty grim.
It paints a bleak picture, yeah. We are untergetaucht, literally submerged, gone underground, hiding, in einem Ort, an dem uns hoffentlich niemand findet. In a place where hopefully no one finds us. We can't say where, obviously, for safety.
No, of course not.
Yeah.
And the description of the place itself. It's minimal, but says a lot. Eng und kalt here, and cramped and cold down here.
Yeah.
It emphasizes the discomfort, right? The vulnerability. This isn't some slick spy movie hideout. It sounds pretty miserable.
It's not ideal, let's put it that way. We're constantly looking over our shoulder, basically.
I can only imagine.
And the script just lays out all the unknowns hanging over us. Wir wissen nicht, was als nächstes passiert. We just don't know what happens next.
Yeah.
Ob sie nach uns suchen? Are they actively searching for us right now? Warum sie gekommen sind? Why did they even show up at the studio? What did they want?
And this part of the script really drills down into the core questions, the ones we keep asking ourselves. It asks flat out, hat es mit unseren Recherchen zu Mike Waffenfax zu tun? Haben wir etwas aufgedeckt, das wir nicht hätten aufdecken sollen? Did this happen because of our research into Mike's Waffenfax? Did we uncover something we weren't supposed to find?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Was it something specific we found, something we said in an analysis?
Right. What exactly triggered?
We've spent all this time picking apart this incredibly strange world of Mike's Waffenfax, the characters, the weird tech, the conspiracies. And now it feels like that world has, reached out and grabbed us, pulled us in.
Yeah.
And the script is chillingly clear on this point. Die Bedrohung fühlt sich sehr real an. Das ist kein Spiel mehr. The threat feels very real. This isn't just analyzing weird stuff anymore. This is serious.
The final section of Die Flucht, the outro. It's short, but it hits hard.
It does.
Bleibt wachsam. Seid vorsichtig da draußen. Stay vigilant. Be careful out there. That feels like more than just a sign-off, doesn't it?
It feels like a genuine warning. Like, if they came after us for looking too close, maybe others should be careful too.
Exactly. Maybe there are wider risks involved.
And then there's the promise, but it's full of uncertainty. Wir melden uns wieder, wenn wir können, wenn es sicher ist. We'll be back when we can, when it's safe.
It's a promise we obviously want to keep.
Desperately. But the when and if.
Yeah.
And that's a problem. We just don't know right now.
And the script ends with that stark question aimed right at the listener.
Fragt euch, wem ihr trauen könnt. Ask yourselves who you can trust.
Yeah.
After what we've been through, that question hits differently. It reflects our own shaken trust, our own uncertainty. And it's a challenge maybe for everyone listening. Think about the info you get, the sources.
So yeah, that's Die Flucht. That's our way of trying to explain the silence, to give you some idea of what's happening. But to really get the full picture, how we got to this point, we need to rewind just a little bit, go back to some of our own stuff we put out earlier.
Right. Specifically that pretty unusual video update we did, MWF 412 in Eigener Sosch, on our own behalf.
Exactly.
Because what's really key about that video is even before this direct confrontation in Die Flucht, we were already feeling uneasy.
Yeah.
A growing sense that something wasn't right. And it felt directly linked to the Mike Waffenfax deep dives we were doing.
Definitely. It wasn't like one sudden thing. It
Yeah.
was building.
A gradual escalation. Yeah, in that video, we were trying to put words to that feeling that some people out there are not exactly thrilled with what we've been doing.
Right.
At first, it was maybe just a vague feeling, like being watched. Or maybe just the feeling that our analysis, especially of the really weird theories in Mike's Waffenfax, might be rubbing someone the wrong way, attracting the wrong kind of attention.
And looking back, connecting it to the script, that initial feeling, that sense of being watched, it directly foreshadows the security showing up, doesn't it?
Totally.
It wasn't out of nowhere.
Hmm.
It was the end point of all those unsettling things we tried to share in that video.
And we did mention back then, remember, strange and kind of unsettling things that have been happening.
Little things.
Yeah, little things that maybe you'd brush off on their own. Seeing a car that looked familiar but parked weirdly, an email that just felt off, thinking you overheard something.
Right. Easy to dismiss one by one.
But add them all up, the picture started looking pretty uncomfortable.
And the video mentioned that feeling of being watched or scrutinized, even when we didn't have, like, hard proof from our usual source digging.
Yeah, it was more a gut feeling then.
An intuition that something was wrong, which lines up almost perfectly with the Gefühl, beobachtet zu werden from die Flucht, the feeling that became terrifyingly real.
Yeah, it suggests our instincts were right even before we saw those guys at the studio. And that sort of general unease, it ramped up. It turned into events that are more significant, even disturbing.
Right. It shifted.
We described it as moving from just feeling watched to feeling like maybe we were being actively targeted.
Yeah.
The specifics, well, we hinted at them in the video, but even now it feels risky to go into detail.
Understandable. But that progression, as we laid it out then, came with this growing realization, didn't it? That our work on Mike's Waffen facts, our unconventional perspectives, the really strong reactions it seemed to provoke.
Yeah.
Maybe that was attracting some unwanted attention.
Yeah.
We were digging into some very strange corners, potentially sensitive stuff. And the feedback, both the stuff people said openly and the subtler things, suggested we might have stepped on some toes. Big ones, maybe.
It's so weird, isn't it? Mike's Waffen facts itself is so out there, so seemingly fake sometimes.
Totally bizarre.
But the feeling it created for us became incredibly real, threatening even. And in that video, we talked about feeling watched by, unknown entities, like what, maybe even organized groups.
Right. That suspicion.
That suspicion, even without solid proof back then, it felt heavy. And, well, it looks like it wasn't just paranoia after all.
And what's telling is that feeling wasn't based on finding some specific document, some smoking gun. It was more a pattern, right? A collection of weird little things, odd coincidences, unsettling vibes.
Exactly.
And that intuition, which Die Flucht now confirms, was spot on. Tragically so.
And we admitted it in that video, too. This whole situation was starting to seep into our work on the deep dive itself.
Made it harder.
It got really difficult to stay objective, to just analyze when you feel like you're the one being analyzed, or worse. It's tough to focus on fictional conspiracies when you suspect you might be caught up in a real one.
It really shines a light on the hidden side of this kind of work, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Looking into potentially sensitive stuff can have real consequences you don't expect.
Definitely. It stopped being just about the puzzle of Mike's Waffen facts. It started affecting our safety, our ability to even do the work. And then came the moment we described in that video. Something happened out of the blue, something unexpected that has made everything more urgent, like way more urgent.
The tipping point.
Yeah. We went from that background hum of anxiety, that discomfort,
Right.
to immediate gut-wrenching fear. Whatever that something was, it just flipped a switch, pushed us right over the edge.
And that sudden event, even though we kept it vague in the In Eigener Sash video for safety reasons, that was the direct cause, the trigger for everything described in Die Flucht.
Exactly.
That was the moment the sense of threat felt very real. No more guessing. We had to go immediately.
Which is why that In Eigener Sash video just stopped. We have to end this deep dive here right now.
Yeah.
Abrupt.
That wasn't for dramatic effect. That was the moment the threat was undeniable, and getting out became the only priority.
And that abrupt ending mirrors the sudden disappearance implied in Die Flucht, doesn't it?
It does.
It really underlines how real and immediate the danger felt and why escaping was the only option. Absolutely necessary.
So, okay, that kind of brings us up to speed on the timeline, how we got here. But to even start guessing why our analysis of Mike's Waffen facts might have caused all this,
Yeah.
we probably need to quickly revisit some of the actual content we were looking at.
Right. Go back to the source material itself.
Yeah. Let's think back to that big summary deep dive we did covering the first 4 sections. MWF 500 condensat, S01, S04.
Okay. Yeah, I was trying to connect the dots here. That condensat analysis really laid out just how bizarre and tangled Mike's Waffen facts became over time.
Oh, absolutely. What started out looking like just some niche show about experimental weapons It just spiraled, didn't it?
It did.
Into this whole mess of really wild claims, shadowy figures, increasingly dark themes. It wasn't just a podcast anymore. It felt like something else entirely.
Totally. In that deep dive, we tracked Mike's descent into, well, you can only call it obsession, right?
Obsession.
His stories about his dad, gas bold, getting wilder and wilder, Ricard's conspiracy theories going completely off the rails, frankly getting quite disturbing.
Yeah.
And then bringing in Schwatten, the mystery sponsor, and his, let's call them unique gifts.
Unique is one word for it.
Remember the gummy bear blowgun?
Yeah.
Started innocent, then Schwatten tweaks it, and suddenly it's firing dangerous projectiles? That kind of escalation was constant.
And what's really striking, looking back at what we cataloged then, is how the weirdness just kept piling up.
Yeah.
The studio explosion that was never really explained, Mike's weird elixirs with nasty side effects.
Yeah.
And then finding the actual Doza Crew logbook inside the Mike Swaffenfax world.
That was a major, wait, what? Moment?
These weren't just random bits of strangeness. They felt connected. Like hints of a deeper, maybe sinister story unfolding just under the surface.
And it wasn't just the internal weirdness of Mike's Waffenfax either, was it? We also found those unsettling connections between it and this DOZACREW.
Right, the overlaps.
The Mikkel alter ego showing up, the shared sound effects, often warped. That person Kim being involved in both, Mike himself showing up on a Doza Crew cover.
Yeah, those weren't just little Easter eggs. They felt significant.
They really blurred the lines, didn't they? Between the fictional world of the podcast and something more real.
It suggested maybe Mike's Waffenfax wasn't happening in a total fantasy bubble. That there could be real-world links, real implications we were just starting to grasp.
And that's when things started feeling really dicey. And then there was all that stuff surrounding the Nova Crew and Grindman Frieden's research, connected to that shadowy group, Regulus 5.
Right. That added another layer entirely.
The hints about a tyrant ruler named Graf Paste. Descriptions of a population that sounded almost zombie-like. And the SSS interfering behind the scenes. It sketched out this much bigger, possibly conspiratorial landscape that Mike's Waffenfax seemed plugged into somehow.
And that wider context, full of control, surveillance, maybe even government wrongdoing. It offers a possible explanation, doesn't it? A really unsettling one.
For why we might be seen as a threat. Yeah.
Maybe by digging into the fiction, we accidentally stumbled onto something real within that bigger, darker network.
It feels possible, likely, even now. And back in the Condensat deep dive, we highlighted all those loose ends, right? The unanswered questions about Mike's Waffenfax.
So many mysteries.
Ricard's research before he vanished, Schwatten's real motives, where he got his resources, what the mainframe actually is, Kim's role in everything.
Yeah.
It feels more and more like trying to answer those questions is what put us on somebody's radar. Like we found a thread someone really wanted left buried.
And if we circle back again to the In Eigener Sash video, that feeling watched.
Yeah.
It could easily connect to the surveillance that Romanko was doing on Mike and Schwatten, which we talked about in the Condensat breakdown.
Oh, right. Good point.
That showed a history of people watching the creators of Mike's Waffenfax. Maybe our deep dives just put us in the same boat, people who are looking too closely.
So when you put it all together, the story from Die Flucht, the anxiety in the In Eigener Sash video, and everything we pulled apart in the Condensat deep dive, the seriousness of where we are now just becomes terrifyingly clear. This isn't just analyzing weird internet stuff anymore.
No, it seems like there are very real, very personal consequences to the questions we asked and the links we made.
The Die Flucht script is just stark proof of that. The uncertainty, the fear, the need to disappear, that's not drama. That's the direct result of digging into the strange, unsettling world of Mike's Waffenfax.
And the script ending so open-ended, it reflects where we are right now, hanging in the balance. We honestly don't know what happens next.
So we have to end this very strange, very personal deep dive by just repeating that last haunting question from Die Flucht. A question that, given everything, feels heavier than ever. Fragt euch, wem ihr trauen könnt. Ask yourselves who you can trust.
Until we can come back. If we can come back. And crucially, when it's safe, that question just hangs there. Stay vigilant out there, everyone. Be careful. Think about your sources.
And we really, really hope we can talk to you all again soon under much better circumstances.